Welcome back to episode 6 of Rebooking 1992 World Wrestling Federation. We are 7 days away from our first pay-per-view in 1992, the Royal Rumble, where we will crown our first world champion in this this rebooking. There are several potential candidates to win the title. Could it be The Undertaker? Could it be Jake the Snake Roberts, Randy Savage, Ric Flair, Sid Justice, Roddy Piper? Who knows? It could be any one of those main event stars. It could be an unknown. The Royal Rumble is a mystery. Could we elevate a mid-card act like Tatanka to the world title? We could. Who knows? The possibilities are endless. Now, in this episode, we are going to be going through Wrestling Challenge and then another WWF live event. And then our next episode will be Primetime and Alive. And then episode 8, as I've said before, will be a trifecta to get us to the Royal Rumble. Now, when I do the Royal Rumble, that will be its standalone episode. I plan on actually writing out the entrance and eliminations for the Royal Rumble. So if you're into that kind of description or information, then I guess you'll enjoy that. Just want to also say that I don't have a set time of uploading because, quite frankly, having a full-time job, having a website that I have dedicated 15 years of my life to, WrestlingRecaps.com, and another podcast with my buddy Dallas, the TNA Cross Line podcast. There's a lot going on in terms of hobbies and stuff like that, but I do enjoy doing this one and also my baseball one. So it'll probably be sporadic. I can't sit here and say every day or every Friday or every Tuesday or whatever the case is that an episode will drop. They'll be dropping whenever I finish them up. Obviously, I started off doing a whole bunch the first week of doing this because it was fun. It is fun for that matter, but I'm not going to burn myself out doing these. And I don't want to burn out the audience either by posting one necessarily every other day or every day. But here we are. We're at Wrestling Challenge. There really hasn't been a whole lot of developments outside of Louis Spicolli increasing his booking fee recently, and then also the failed drug tests where we talked to Jake the Snake, Marty Jannetty, and Louis to not do drugs. And then we have a promise to DiBiase, which we've already booked for, I believe it was January 31st at the Garden, that he just wants to work a match with him. So this will not be a big deal. The big deals are going to be, based off what I've read in the description of this game, is potentially a wrestler being like, hey, I want to win a title. Whatever the case is, that is when we're going to have to do probably the tough stuff of being saying, hey, I can't give Skinner a world title match or a world title victory. So that will be interesting to see how that plays out. I'm not looking forward to that. But yeah, there's nothing really going on. We talked about all this stuff earlier, so this could be a shorter episode depending on what happens. But if not, that's okay too. So as I said, we are 7 days away, a week away from the Royal Rumble. And we have, I want to say most of the card announced. We have Bret Hart defending the Intercontinental title against Rick the Model Martel. Tag Team Champions LOD defending against the Nasty Boys in a no DQ street fight, kind of a rematch essentially from SummerSlam. Savage and Roberts in a grudge match. And then, of course, the Rumble for the vacant WWF World title. That's going to be 30 men. I do have a a bonus match, I guess you could say, that has not been announced, and I'm not going to spoil it. It's just going to be on the show when we get there, is, providing there's not any major developments that would prevent that from happening. Now, I know before I said I didn't want the natural disasters losing on pay-per-view, and as you can see, I've been using that on the house shows, and I guess I'd rather get a consistent good house show audience using that match instead of on a pay-per-view where it's just on the undercard. I'd rather just load it up on the house shows constantly to fill the cards. I mean, sure, I could have done the Nasty Boys, I guess, with LOD on the house shows and done the disasters. But quite frankly, I think on a pay-per-view scale, I would rather watch LOD than the Nasty Boys. Maybe I'm wrong, but that's just my personal taste. So, all right, well, let's get into what we've booked here for Wrestling Challenge. Kind of explain the segments, matches, and then see how the crowd reacts. And of course, we'll go to our live event right after that. So we're going to be using the Giant Center in Pennsylvania. Capacity is about 10.5. Potential audience or attendance is 20,000. So here's the thing with this. And this is also going to apply to pay-per-views. I feel like to use blatantly the same ones as in real life, I'm potentially just shortchanging myself massively. And I clearly use this one for the cost part. The idea of spending in the game like $185,000 for a 20,000 seat arena is kind of blowing my mind. So I guess I'm just going to keep it to where it was. I thought about changing pay-per-views. I probably will have to just use like a local huge arena to get the most money for our revenue, I guess. So hopefully I'm not shortchanging myself too much here. But let's get into this show. We're going to start off with Owen Hart defeating Peter Polanco, also known as, of course, PJ Walker or Just Incredible, Aldo Montoya, whichever. That's going to be with a bridging German suplex. That's in large part, again, to his recent performances on house shows, where he's been getting pretty good crowd reactions in the effort and selling. So why not kind of, and I guess in a singles way, put a focus on him. We're doing that with Coco Beware and Papa Shango. And I figured doing that with Owen, with his matches against like Rick Martel, for instance, could be pretty beneficial. So we'll start doing that on various TVs as well. Start programming the audience to be accustomed to it. We go to Roddy Piper, cutting a quick promo, competing in the 1992 Royal Rumble, mentions Flair, hoping it's him and Flair remaining in the Rumble. That way, the quote-unquote dress-wearing Hot Rod can embarrass Flair and win the WWF World Championship. We then go to the Beverly Brothers, defeating Scott Taylor and Bobby Blaze when they do the head spike, lifting Blaze into the air and then driving him face first into the mat. This is just kind of continuing the push of the Beverly Brothers in the tag division as a potential challenging team to, as it stands right now, the Legion of Doom. But if there is a future babyface tag team, that they would be a viable contender. We could also use the Beverly Brothers as a tag team on the house shows to kind of replace the Natural Disasters in that role. Whether or not I have them job out cleanly to the LOD, that will remain to be seen, I guess. But I feel like they would have better matches too than the Disasters, or Nasty Boys for that matter. Let's go to an IRS in the Rumble promo. Of course, he's promoting his entry in the Rumble. He's confident that he'll toss the 28 other tax-cheating superstars, noting that Ted DiBiase is not a tax cheat because IRS helps the $1 Million Man properly file his taxes. Should it come down to himself or DiBiase, whomever wins, they all win. So I made sure to note that he's going to toss out the other 28. I guess, technically he would have to eliminate DiBiase, but not um, in a non-friendly manner, I guess. We're still showing that there's an alignment there, an allegiance to one another. Tatanka has an enhanced match against Rex King, one half of a well done. He's going to hit the end of the trail victory. The Mountie is in the Rumble. And, of course, with Jimmy Hart, they're going to cut a promo. And he's going to zap his way through the competition and become the WWF World Champion because he's the Mountie. And he always gets his way. I'm really liking the Mountie, if you can't tell, in this series. So we might have to find ways to showcase him and maybe push him further along. In one of our future matches of the night, the British Bulldog is going to defeat the Warlord with a running power slam in about 7 minutes. I'm well aware that in 91, these guys had a lot of matches against each other. I know I can remember of at least 2 singles just on pay-per-view. I believe WrestleMania 7 and then this Tuesday in Texas. I believe they wrestled both times. But you know what? It's TV. And we could maybe get interest in watching them go at it again. Bulldog getting a big win over a more powerful performer. I don't think that's anything wrong with that. We're also promoting Bulldog as a Rumble participant, contender. He could potentially win, all that stuff. Let's go to a video regarding Papa Shango. He's surrounded by flames of fire and is shown that he has Frankie, Coco Beware's parrot, in his hands. And of course, Shango's going to ramble about sacrifices to the Voodoo Master that need to be made. And Frankie represents the sacrifice of friendship and happiness that Coco Beware cherishes. The video comes to an end as Shango brings Frankie closer to the flames. Now, would we be in trouble with PETA? I mean, probably, because we're suggesting the murder of a parrot, but we don't show it, nor is it confirmed to be happening. So maybe there's a way that we could just lie and say we didn't do that. But it's voodoo. There can be transformations of people, animals, things. So I guess we'll just have to tune in and find out just what exactly is happening to Frankie. The Nasty Boys are going to defeat Jumpin' Jim Brunzell and Louis Spicoli when Sags hits the top rope elbow drop. We went 6 minutes with this. Make this maybe a little bit more competitive. More so with Brunzell probably carrying the load on the enhancement side. And again, we're promoting the Nasty Boys heading into the Royal Rumble tag team title match against Legion of Doom. We got to get them some steam and maybe cast some doubt that they could defeat the Legion of Doom. Let's go to Intercontinental Champion Bret Hart cutting a promo. He's open to any challenge, and he's looking forward to Rick Martel's challenge at the Royal Rumble. Again, mentioning that this is not Japan and that Bret Hart is the next level of competition. And then he finishes off with his catchphrases, assuring Martel he'll find out what the Hitman is all about. And then in our main event, action-wise, The Undertaker is going to defeat Superfly Jimmy Snuka in about 6 minutes. Of course, this is a rematch. That was also at WrestleMania 7. I guess since it's almost been a year, we can't really classify it as a rematch. But it's one that happened there. And we could probably make note of that. Undertaker with a fairly dominating victory. Snuka could probably get his chops in and stuff like that. But there's going to be no real danger here for The Undertaker to lose. And then in our final segment, Randy Savage is fired up, and he promotes both the singles match against Roberts at the Rumble, and then also the Rumble match itself, saying that he's going to get his revenge, and of course he's going to be winning the WWF World Championship once again. So we'll see these promos are going to be like the quick hitting ones for the Rumble. I guess we didn't have a podium interview, which is fine. I don't think we necessarily need to have that all the time. I kind of like the quick hitting promos anyway, more so than Gene being on the podium and it being like a 5-minute thing or 4-minute thing. We can just do quick promos, especially for the Rumble. As we get into WrestleMania and the other events outside of the Rumble, the quick promos will be good because they're largely going to be repetitive. They're not usually focusing on one guy. You're focusing on 29 for the most part. So we can be pretty vague. All right, let's go to the Giant Center, which we should easily sell out and see how this show comes across for Wrestling Challenge. All right, we got 2 stars out of Owen and Peter Polanco. Not bad. Owen doesn't really get anything. The crowd probably doesn't care because, again, we're just starting to program Owen to be presented in a singles capacity, and then Polanco is just a job guy. So this number should increase over time. Good bump up here. 100% by Piper promoting the Rumble itself and his match with Flair. That's good to see. 1.5 for the Beverly Brothers defeating Scott Taylor and Bobby Blaze. Again, the crowd not overly into it. That's the whole. That's what we gotta do though. We gotta build these guys up to eventually get the crowd to care. Nobody gets any increase there. IRS with his promo gets 89%. 1.5 for Tatanka defeating Rex King. As you can see, the numbers are a little bit higher, probably because Rex King does, kind of have a name. And Tatanka put in a huge effort. That's good. You got a nice little bump up, too. 1.5. The Mountie got a good promo, 90%. So we did some good promo work here. That should help balance out the numbers. We get a dud. Warlord not wanting to sell. Can't say that's surprising. He gets we almost got 1 full point of popularity. Crowd's into it. And that just shows you the massive difference for when there's people of substance, even if it's just a job match. It's so much more different than Peter Polanco that nobody at the time would really know about. So 64, that's not bad. I think that's the highest rated match. I think easily up to this point, right? 64. Yeah, that's not even close. Let's see how the Shango segment went. 75, not bad. That feels like it's going a little higher than what we started off at. 1.5 for the Nasty Boys. Getting to a 56%. Oh, wow. Brunzell was a little fatigued going into the match. So that means we might have to write that down. We might be using Brunzell too much. We do use him almost. I feel like we use him almost a lot, like almost every show. We've even used him on house shows. So we got to be careful of that. But what can we say? He's good. He's a good enhancement guy. Spicoli recently increasing his booking fee to $400. Okay, so he did sell. Okay, good effort. All right, that's not bad. All right, Martel gets a good little bump here, 72% on the promo by Brett as we head towards their Rumble Showdown. And then -0.5 star, but it's the highest rated match segment. So that's really all that matters. This ultimately doesn't matter. We want crowd reactions and then how much they care about it ultimately. But a good bump up there, 0.8. And they have pretty bad chemistry. That shouldn't be all that surprising. And then 91% here for the Macho Man promo, with Elizabeth getting a little bit of an increase. Nothing changing for Savage. And then Jake getting a little bit of an increase. All right, so then our show is 67, and we've lost more popularity. So that is not fun. All right, so there are no changes really from There's no news coming out of the one show, so we got to just go right into our live event. So let's go right into our live event then. As you can see, we have quite a few matches here. And we did a small arena in Ontario. The capacity is 5,000, basically $27,000 in cost. And we should hopefully sell it out. Our wages, quite a bit of money, almost $72,000. But let's get into it. Tatanka is going to defeat Skinner in 12 minutes with the end of the trail. And as you can see, Skinner is not happy. And I'm noticing that almost everyone, whether it be Skinner, Repo Man, Berserker, I think was one of the guys. I might have changed the booking for that one. No one likes or wants to job to Tatanka, and I don't understand it. He's a mid-card babyface. He's got some decent momentum. I don't really get it, but we went 12 minutes with this. I would imagine they're not going to be able. I'm sure they're going to be exhausted by the 12 minutes, but I didn't want to really add time to any of these other matches, so they just have to kind of help us out here. Hacksaw Jim Duggan is going to defeat Haku with the running clothesline in about 8 minutes. We have a segment promoting the main event, which is what we normally do. It's going to be the Mega Powers uniting to take on Jake Roberts and The Undertaker. They're more united than they have ever been before. Of course, Roberts and Taker come out to interact, with Roberts suggesting that they're both snakes and they will show their true colors towards each other at the Royal Rumble anyway. And then Taker simply does his rest in peace towards the Mega Powers. So we're trying to cast the doubt, right? So like Jake, obviously Hogan and Savage have, well, exploded before. And who is to suggest that it wouldn't happen again, especially with the WWF World title being in the mix. And, of course, we have the similar goal here. They have a common enemy, so I guess, right? So Hogan having issues with the Taker, and, of course, the huge rivalry between Savage and Roberts. It all kind of ties in together. So I feel like that's a huge main event for a house show. So I would want to go see that. Sergeant Slaughter is going to defeat the Mountie with a clothesline. I believe it's called the Slaughter Cannon, which I don't know if I ever really realized that. We're going to go 8 minutes here. Mountie doing jobs on the house shows does not bother me. We can still present him strongly on TV for if and when we decide to push him. Shawn Michaels is going to defeat Owen Hart in about 12 minutes with the super kick. Yeah, we're not going to do no teardrop suplex, side suplex nonsense. We're going straight to the super kick. I've been watching my fair share of WWF 92 for the last decade as I've been trying to finish reviewing it. And every time that Shawn Michaels does a super kick and then does the teardrop suplex, it just is like weaker then. So we're not going to bother. We're going right to the super kick. $1 Million Championship, Ted DiBiase is going to wrestle El Matador Tito Santana to a 15-minute time limit draw. And, of course, that's going to be when Matador hits the flying forearm smash and DiBiase kind of rolls to the floor. Bell sounds, and DiBiase escapes with his championship. I'm sure the crowd will hate that, but we had to fill some time, quite frankly, and I think these guys can have a pretty decent match. Coco Beware is going to defeat Repo Man with a missile dropkick. Now, I have it noted here that Coco is not as lively and is constantly yelling for Frankie throughout the match. He's kind of going nuts. That is the whole purpose of the Shango thing. We're presenting Coco as kind of like going through a mental episode, I guess. Which is probably risque for 92. But you know what? That's what the whole rebooking is. A whole creative thing is like, how could we be different then? And I think Coco Beware, suffering clearly depression, and still overcoming it, but he's experiencing it is kind of interesting storytelling with when he's feuding with a voodoo guy. So, yeah, missile dropkick. Repo Man is not upset. He's upset about losing to Tatanka, but Koko Beware, 6 minutes, he's fine. World Tag Team Championships, Legion of Doom. They're going to retain against Natural Disasters. Hawk hitting the flying clothesline on Typhoon. We're going to go about 10 minutes there. I feel like I'm purposely having Typhoon take the pin losses here because I really, really like Earthquake. And I think we can do more with Earthquake, so I'm not gonna like sacrifice him in tag team losses. So sorry, Typhoon. But we kind of want to have Quake revert back to like 1990 Earthquake at some point. Whether that be heel or babyface, doesn't really matter. But at some point we're going to look into that. Sid Justice is going to defeat Hercules in about 4 minutes with a powerbomb. I mean, self-explanatory. Justice is just going to kick ass, powerbomb. Hopefully Hercules does not just pop up and leave like he did at the Garden Show in real life. So hopefully he'll just sell it. I'm sure that they'll be like Hercules did not want to sell throughout the match. That's what these 80 guys, the guys that wrestled in the 80s that can sense their spots are fading away. They don't want to do the job. Or they don't want to sell either. And in the main event, the Mega Powers are going to defeat Jake the Snake Roberts and The Undertaker when Hogan pins Roberts after the big boot and leg drop. That's right, we're doing a clean finish. Hogan can pin Roberts. I don't think it really damages anybody. Kind of the point of a tag match, I guess, is that we can still have a clean finish and have all the hoopla. The Mega Powers are going to celebrate and all that stuff. It's a small arena show in Ontario. There shouldn't be that much damage done. All right, so let's see how this one goes. Can we rebound from losing a little bit of popularity? Let's confirm. Here we go. All right. And, of course, we start with a dud. And I knew someone was going to struggle, and it's Skinner. Tatanka gets a little bit of a boost. We get a dud. Crowd probably, didn't really care all that much. Back-to-back duds. Crowd was a little bit more into this one, though. So, that's great. Back-to-back duds. I gotta love it. 96%. Hyping up the main event. We have 3 straight duds, guys. Oh, my gosh. Okay, the Mountie got a better reaction than you'd expect. They are riding a wave of momentum right now. That's important to keep an eye on. That he has momentum. The fans are definitely responding to him. So yeah, we got to make sure we write that down. That's what we want. We want Mountie to get some momentum there. He loses a little bit here, but that's not too big of a deal. 3.5 stars for Owen and Shawn Michaels. That's what we like to see. 62%. The crowd, again, maybe not overly into it because realistically, they're both very new to being single stars, obviously. Shawn just turning on Marty a few weeks ago, and then Owen still being one half of high energy with Koko Beware. But 3.5 stars, we'll take that. That is not bad. That's actually probably a really good house show match. 2 stars for Ted and El Matador, and I knew this was going to be a thing. All 3 of that, I knew that was going to be the case, and that's okay. We can change it up next time when we return to Ontario or whatever the case is. But I guess I didn't want to have Matador lose yet, so we got 2.5 though, or 2 stars, so not bad there. Koko Beware defeating Repo Man gets a 0.5 star. And I think this is, yeah, this would be probably right after an intermission. So, kind of a cool down, while also highlighting Coco Beware in his new singles role. Half star here for LOD in the natural disasters. Hawk wouldn't sell much, which is kind of weird. Nothing changes here, but we got some decent crowd reaction. So that kind of carried the match overall. Sid, negative half star. Hercules did sell, so that's a relief. Crowd was a little bit into it. 59 total. And then our main event got a star. But look at the crowd reaction. 93%, 81 total. Nothing changes from anybody there. Savage. Now we noted before, I didn't know this in the beginning here, but Savage could have put in a little bit more effort. He is afraid of hurting himself. We did learn that. So that will likely impact his match quality. But the crowd probably didn't care. They sure it was a below average match, but they were amped for it. So, and our show rating is at 81%. That might be the highest one we've had. That math doesn't even add up. Our highest rating on the show was 81%. Everything else was, well, excuse me, there's a 96. I don't think there's no way if you add all that up. Okay. So, of course, our growth doesn't change because the house show is pretty much unimportant. So, that's great. We have 4 new mail messages. I would imagine that is going to be just because of the shows, hopefully. God damn it, there's more. All right. Wrestling Challenge in U.S. syndication. Challenge got 3.6 million viewers. And the show itself from USA Network is going to bring us 800,000. The Wrestling Challenge in live sold 10,500 tickets. So we got just over $560,000. Promotional wars. Let's see. So we lost. The best looking roster was still lower than WCW. And then the cool factor. Oh, okay. This is comparing the violence and danger. Okay, that does not bother me. Everything else we're well ahead. Okay. But here we go. Another drug test. Oh. Okay. So Davey Boy Smith has failed the test. As their employer, you must decide how to handle this. So he's not doing pot, but he's doing hard drugs, and of course he tested positive for steroids. All right. Well, the other guys, I feel like we gotta just kind of we gotta maintain our role here. So the other 3, Jannetty, Roberts, and Spicoli, we talked to calmly, and we're like, hey man, we can't be doing that. The last thing I want to do. Yeah, okay. So one of the last things we want to do here is any of these guys have to go to rehab because then they're gone for 60 days. Suspensions would be fine because it's a month. And of course we can't use them for that time. Fines. We'll have to utilize that. So the last thing we want to do is I certainly don't want to fire anybody. Anybody that we're actively using. And then suspensions could potentially hurt any of our plans. So we're going to talk calmly to Bulldog and be like, hey, Bulldog, you're huge. You don't need to do steroids. Just work out, dude. Have some protein. Go to the gym. And you'll be fine. And then the hard drugs, man, like, you have a family. Don't do drugs. Okay. If you need help, let me know. Preferably, you know, an outpatient rehab facility so we can still use on shows. But come on, smarten up. Okay. Don't get involved in my business. Okay. that, that, that just pissed me off. What in the world? He just told me to not get involved in his business. Am I like losing it? Did he just say that to me? His morale, he's happy. He's got a ton of momentum because I've had him win 5 matches in a row. And he's going to tell me to mind my business. Wow. Okay. Let's check on Jim Brunzell. Because I guess he was tired after like a 6-minute match. He's not like injured. Stamina is 70. Does it tell you if he's like tired or something? Oh, he is mildly fatigued. Okay. This is probably important to know. I should probably like pay attention to that, right? Is there anybody else that's got a fatigue issue? Who's the massive red? Snuka doesn't really matter. Okay, I don't think they would have told us, right? If there was other fatigue issues. I don't think there is. I think we're okay. So Jim Brunzell. I'm not going to scroll through all these. I've decided that. We've used him a lot. Right? I mean, we're on the 12th and we've used him. He's had 5 matches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah. Okay. So we're using Brunzell quite a bit. Maybe we should not use him all the time. Now, again, I've booked all the way up to Rumble. So if he's on any of these shows as it stands right now, well, I guess he's just gonna have to. He'll stay booked on those shows. I guess afterwards we'll have to figure that out. All right, let's look at our finances. Right now we've made about 15, almost 15.5 million. Just from our production alone, we needed 13, and we're at roughly the midway point in the month. So we're on pace for about 30 million. That does not incorporate merchandise. As you can see here, we'll find that out at the end of the month. That's one of my favorite things to see, because then it tells you, exactly where maybe the fans are responding in this game. Who's getting over, who's not. So that's kind of fun. Medically, there's nothing different here. Warrior is still suspended till the 4th. Beefcake is injured until January. And then Perfect's got his back injury until the 25th. Oh, this is fun. I didn't realize it shows you the all the people that got drug tested. Okay, this is interesting. So on the day that we had three drug tests fail, which was Roberts, Spicoli, and Chinetti, DiBiase passed. Okay, hang on a minute, guys. Wait a minute. Animal tested positive for steroids, but he passed. So is it only hard drugs that we're carrying? Let's see. Is that what this is? Yes. Drugs being tested, hard drugs. So you can basically take steroids, and we're okay with that. Okay, that's good that I actually read my my wellness policy. Steroids good, hard drugs not good. All right. So Animal tested positive for steroids. Hulk Hogan tested positive for steroids. Wow. Nobody else there. And then these are soft drugs. So Pot Tanaka tested positive. Perry Saturn, Papa Shango, Coco Beware, Bushwhacker Luke. Okay. Genetti and Spicoli, obviously, as well. Pot does not bother me, so that's fine. Let's go to the more recent one on the 12th. Smothers is smoking pot. It looks like Sid Justice is on steroids. Shawn Michaels is smoking pot. Papa Shango still smoking pot. Jim Powers is taking... Okay. Jim Powers is on roids. Dino Bravo's on roids. Del Wilkes, the Patriot, is on roids. Crush, guess what? He's on roids. Bushwhacker Luke was a Butcher Luke on the first one. So Luke is still smoking pot. And then, yeah. So, okay. So then, but they care about... So it goes red on either one. Some of them, but not all of them. Okay, that's weird. Well, that's great. Yeah, that's a lot of guys are on steroids. I can't say I'm too surprised by those developments. All right, anyway, we are 6 days away from the Royal Rumble. Again, our next episode will be Primetime Wrestling, followed by a live event, and then the episode after that will be 3. It'll be a longer one, potentially, focusing on the final TVs before the Royal Rumble, and then the Rumble will be a standalone recording. Here's some news. Nothing too major. Joey Legend has entered the wrestling world. That's good. Let's see. That looks like it'd be it there. Pillman has been suspended by WCW. I wonder what that's for. That probably won't tell us anything. I'm assuming for probably drugs. I don't see anything. Just says suspended. Okay. Well, that does not apply to us. All right, so what we've learned today is that we've got a bunch of guys doing drugs, steroids specifically. And we had a pretty good house show. So let's go to our event history. I think that was by far our best house show by score. 73, 69, 69, 73, 61, 81. Yeah, so this world tour right here was a sellout. So that's good. Wrestling Challenge was not a sellout. 3.6 compared to... Okay, so we went down a little bit from the last week's episode of Challenge. I like to look at that just to see if we're keeping the audiences. And if our popularity is going down, then realistically we should not. Superstars, as we see here, went down almost 400,000 week over week. So, and then Challenge was substantially worse, but we didn't lose a lot. All right. So hopefully we can load up Primetime and maybe boost the rating, level it out a little bit. But yeah. All right. Join me for the next episode when we go to Primetime and a live event, as we inch closer to crowning our first WWF World Champion at the Royal Rumble in just 6 days.